My name is Alexander Kabbaz. I'm a men's custom shirt maker, and I've been doing it for 30 years. We have a rule, a policy, rule, whatever you want to call it, that we followed now ever since I started. And that policy is, if you can do it just as good, more quickly, that's fine. If you can do it better, at the same speed, that's fine. If you can do it better and it takes more time, time is what we've got, okay? And making the shirts better is what we've always striven to do. I want to tell you a little story about my grandmother and the influence that she had over the beginning of my shirt making. She was sponsored to come over to the United States for two things, her painting and her textile designs. And one of the things she continued to do when she got here was to design textiles and use them to make costumes, which is what she did right here in this room, and that's how I started to learn sewing when I was 5 years old. This room was also her art studio. So all that influence came into this. It's obviously an art because the final product of it is style. But when you think about it carefully, that style doesn't come about in the vacuum. That style comes about because somebody invented, how am I going to put it together? I went to school at Stony Brook for engineering, and I took that with the growing up here with my grandmother with the art and tried to combine them into a product that is both aesthetically pleasing, unique, and as physically functional as it needs to be. It basically involves staying with the old traditional methods that have been used pretty much since the beginning of the 1900s, while bringing in some of the technological advantages that have come to the fore with the advent of plastics and plastics technology. Some of the chemistry technology has aided us in making shirts. And in that respect, the product that you can get from us today is, hopefully, better than the product you could get in 1919, but still holds to the same traditional old-fashioned methods of looking at every stitch, making sure that what you're doing is precise, clean, and cut the way it's supposed to be. In the first place, the shirt has to be made from the best fabrics. The best fabrics are exclusively from Europe. The stitching on the shirt has to be held to a standard which, for example, if you go into a store and buy I won't say a particular brand, you would find that the stitching on the collar is done at a rate of 6 stitches in every inch. If you would come to this collar and count the stitches, there's 30 in an inch. So the stitching quality is important. The fabric quality is important. In terms of the quality directed at the individual person who's wearing it, the most important part of the quality is the fit. And when I say fit, I'm not only speaking physically. Fit is also something that has to do with style and appropriateness for the person who's wearing it. The whole quality of the shirt is an encompassing of all of those subjects, getting the physical quality right, the appropriateness right, and also, finally, making sure that it is something that the final wearer is comfortable wearing. The ideal to that is you put it on and forget you're wearing it. When you discuss hand making of shirts, there are multiple kinds of hand making. There's the old-fashioned hand making where a woman would be sitting in her home, being a, quote, dutiful housewife, unquote, and making her husband shirts. And those she would have to do with a sewing needle and put every single piece of the shirt together. More modern shirt making, starting in the first half of the 19th century, was done with the use of hands and machinery. The purpose of the machinery is to put in the stitch. The purpose of the hands is to make sure the fabric is exactly doing what it's supposed to do. In other words, if you're stretching it, it's in a place you're supposed to stretch it. If you're shirring it together and pushing one piece against the other, it's in a place where you're supposed to be doing that. The advantage of combining hands with sewing machines is that instead of working with only 2 hands, now I have 4. Whether you know it or not, my knee is controlling what's called the foot of the sewing machine that holds the fabric down. My feet are controlling the needle that goes up and down, and my hands are working with the fabric. So instead of being a 2-handed person, all of a sudden I have the advantage of having 4 hands. When you're hand making a shirt using a sewing needle and your hands, you're trying to use your knee to balance. You're trying to use your underarm to hold part of the shirt, and basically you end up in a crooked position trying to do something which is supposed to be accurate. If you go to Walmart and buy a shirt, and that shirt was made in an up-and-coming third world country, the approximate time to make that shirt is somewhere between 6 and 8 minutes. They're done in a robotic fashion on an assembly line which requires 52 people. In the way we do it, one person does everything. I cut them all and my partner sews them all. That way I'm 100% responsible for what I gave to him, and he's 100% responsible for what he gives back to me. That process, when making an average shirt of ours, takes somewhere between 9 and 12 hours. Okay, so 6 minutes, 12 hours. The pride we put into our shirts is that 11-hour and 54-minute difference. As an example, if I can use a well-known French company named Charvet, they're known as a very, very good shirt maker, and the owner does work there, and they make 3,000 shirts a week. Now, if you were to take 3,000 shirts and line them up along my driveway, and I were to run from one end to the other and try to pick each one up and look at it during the week, during 1 week, one work week, it would never happen. That's the difference. My name is Alexander Kabbaz. I'm a men's custom shirt maker, and I've been doing it for 30 years.